It's being held at the Don B. Griffin Room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street, Harwich, Mass. At 6 p.m. It's October 24th, 2024. Is there any comment from any of the guests on public comment? Hearing none, moving on. Did we get an approval of the minutes? I didn't get the minutes?
I didn't send them.
Okay, so that's off the table.
They're in there, but y'all didn't get them.
All right, under new business, open project status. Amy, would you please come and make your presentation?
Sure. And I have copies of the email that I sent. There's 8.
Thank you. Does everybody want a copy, or should I keep these for book?
Yeah, I have it.
Since I've written that, there's even more updates, so. Which one would you like to do first?
I'm
Your
paperless.
choice.
Okay.
You have the floor.
I'm paperless, so.
Let's. I'll do the Hinkley Pond landside project first. So since our last meeting, we got into the right contacts with the state, and I've applied for a construction access permit because Route 124 is a MassDOT road and DCR is the bike trail. So in addition to dealing with DCR, which I knew we had to deal with, we technically, even though there's already a physical access there, MassDOT wants a construction access permit. So I've applied for the construction access permit, and in discussions with them, they had some feedback on our proposal. If the pavement in that lot, which is about a 40 by 60 foot area, it's going to be torn up. They want it to be stabilized stone dust or porous pavement to preserve ADA compliance and proper access for cyclists. It's not ideal, but I can understand why they wouldn't want gravel or wood chips. So I think that is a doable. I had proposed to have an ADA compliant pathway through the area to a viewing bench over the pond, but they want all amenities, including picnic tables and water fountains, to be accessible. Not a big hurdle when it comes down to it. We can get a picnic table that's compliant, and work with the water department on the water fountain. And we are starting to work on a memorandum of understanding for maintenance responsibilities. So this is all very positive, and what I would like to do now is, now that I'm getting some positive feedback that they haven't just said no to this, is to now put in application with the Conservation Commission for the work. We've seen more forward movement, I hate to say, in years, in the past few months. And I'm hopeful with the contacts now that I'm speaking with Sarah Ferreira and Aaron Turigny at the state, that we can finally move this along.
Okay, I'm going to open the, I'm looking at the discrepancy. Open it to the board. Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into anything. But.
It's been years.
I know. Given what's happening right down the path with the HCT proposal and what they've been granted access to do, and they're going to take out the pump house and they're going to put in a viewing platform that's going to be ADA accessible, do we think it's necessary now to have another one?
I guess I would have to and that was brought up to me. Initial feedback that I've received is that this was a promise kind of made to town meeting voters, that to put an access point here with a staircase, and believe me, I would love to have that way out and make that our access. I think I need to.
I mean, it was really to have access to the pond.
Right.
Now that we might have access to the pond,
yeah,
the funds could be spent on the other things that still need to be done.
Yeah.
you know, which is gonna get eaten up with everything else.
If, I'm happy to pursue that, push that a little bit
Well, I don't know, I
farther,
mean, I'm throwing it out
If-
there.
if people want to pursue that route.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
And you know where I lean,
I don't.
specifically at the town meeting verified what the description was. We follow town meeting vote.
Okay, but,
So,
so say she didn't have enough money.
well,
Probably
there's a
not going to
question
at
I
this
have
rate.
for her, right? I'm gonna, well, I will let the board speak first. Are you set, Kath?
Yeah, yeah.
Marcy,
Have anything this time?
John,
Just a question for Kathy. Are you suggesting that perhaps funds shouldn't be spent on the ADA part, but that the rest of the work, such as it
I'm
is,
suggesting we don't
should
put
be-
in a viewing platform and an ADA accessible path down to it.
Well, I
The
thought,
path down would not,
would-
it would not be able to be ADA, it's so
Okay.
steep,
Because of
but
this.
it would really, but it would provide public access.
Yeah.
That's not ADA compliant down to the pond.
Okay, so if you stay up
Yep,
on the gravel or the, whatever it is, you have access to ADA accessible water fountain and picnic table, but you can't go down to the viewing platform. So you'd have to go down the path. I mean, what are we doing?
are you quite done?
I'm sorry,
it would eliminate my having to go through MassDOT.
I'm trying to, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. It's taken a long time to come to this point, and here we are, and we're at a different place now.
Yeah,
Understood.
That's all.
Hank,
John?
so you say it would, what would eliminate our having to go through MassDOT? Just abandoning the ADA compliant objective?
we wouldn't need a construction access permit off of Route 124.
I see.
Okay,
Whose
Right.
decision is this?
the boards,
It's our decision.
yeah.
Okay.
Emily?
Well, same thing was going through my mind, like, how would that work if we were making a modification? Can we make a modification to what had been approved by the town, or?
I'd put that in front of legal. Based on the consensus of the board. That's what the board wants to do. I'm against it. But if the consensus of the board is to get a legal opinion, we'll do exactly that. Because I think that's where it lies.
Mr.
Anybody,
Chairman.
John?
So, how is this different from, say, certain other projects where town meeting voted to approve the project, and it turns out there weren't enough funds there to complete the project? In fact, there's one project that's now coming back a second time for extra funds, and we can't fulfill the town meeting vote because there isn't enough money there. And is this really materially different from that?
Well, when rec runs out of money for a particular project, the town meeting and vote is to support their project. Then if they don't have enough money in the account, they kick the money back, it gets rescinded, and then they come before us for a new application. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
I can
I am-
specifically look at rec, I'm the rec
Well, I am
representative, so I
talking
am.
specifically about rec and the sand pond restrooms.
Right.
Which, no money has come back, but they've come back a second time now for, well, three times total,
Right.
but a second time for additional funds. And I mean, the case could be made that what we're talking about here is insufficient funds to do the ADA compliance here.
HC project was approved as one thing, and then the
That's,
money,
that's the other part of it.
getting it scoped down, the project got scoped down because it was too expensive.
There were two, in that application, there were two parts of that project.
Oh, one was the Allen part and one was
Yeah.
75,000 for this part. I mean, they were clearly differentiated.
Can I interject
Yeah.
just for a moment? I was doing some numbers, Amy, and on the spreadsheet, I have $75,000 was allocated. And I have, I'm sorry, 75,000 was allocated. So that's ATM 18, Hinckley's Pond, number 57. But on the other sheet, I have 70,700, so there's $4,300.
We spent
Yeah.
that
Is
money
that,
on the
is that what it was?
on the survey.
Okay, all right, that explains that, thank you.
I want you to know whatever purview of your board is,
Right.
I would be happy to follow. Really just want to make sure that there is public access to Hinckley, so we abide by what town meeting asked us to do. And I'm happy to assist with a legal opinion, getting legal opinion if that's what you would like to do.
Okay, we're not gonna make that determination tonight, but
Can I get, should I keep pursuing what I'm pursuing right now with the state to get this construction access permit through? Or should I wait for a legal opinion?
I would, I don't wanna delay this project anymore. I would continue,
Okay,
at least put the project motion forward, and then whatever the legal opinion is, it is.
okay,
So,
happy to do that.
any member of the board wanna comment on that? Okay, moving forward.
Thank you. And then another one that's been a couple years old, 2020, Article 31, restoration of town-owned conservation lands, for $20,000. We had a bit over 12,000 remaining, and this money we've kind of been waiting on to determine whether or not we were gonna be using a gate, be it via our manual or electronic gate at the Bell's Neck Conservation Lands, which can be pretty pricey to do. Since that time, the commission has had several discussions, Conservation Commission has had several discussions, and decided at this time, they want to use that fund still in the Bell's Neck Conservation Lands, but to pursue some of the other items that were in the Bell's Neck Land Management Plan, such, and in particular, relocating the parking lot that is on Bell's Neck Road, right adjacent to the salt marsh, and relocating it north, but still south of the power lines, in more of an upland location, not completely outside the 100-foot buffer zone to a wetland, because you have wetland that it's across the street, but about 75 feet away. And that application, because what we're proposing to do is remove that parking lot and relocate it, and restore that old parking area, is slated to be on the Conservation Commission's meeting on November 6th. I met with DPW to get a cost estimate, and we've already started purchasing materials, because whether it's in that exact location or slightly different, we have an idea of materials. Just paid $3,500 for some brand-new heavy-duty fencing, wooden fencing. They recommended a crushed concrete base to it. We would designate one parking spot as ADA, and this is in an area, if people are familiar, it's directly across from the trail head on Bell's Neck Road, on the north side of the reservoir. So there's great access at that location right into that trail system. And we would provide, instead of what is about 5 parking spaces now by the kiosk, there would be 8 to 10. And the area is pretty bare of most major vegetation as well. Very little grading would be needed. So we're estimating probably 5,000 to 6,000 for that work, total, including the crushed concrete base, anything else that we need to do. So there's still, might be a little bit of funds still there. I've been speaking with a property owner whose family gave and sold a lot of land to the town in the Bell's Neck, of the Bell's Neck Conservation Area, and reminded us of the commitment that the town has to provide some signage of the history of the area. And I need to make sure that that would be amenable to do with CPC funds.
Okay, open it up to the board. Marcy?
I just had a question. You had mentioned the costs between a manual gate and electronic gate. Is that factored into?
That's why, so an electronic gate, the research I did, and that would be, back then it was a little cheaper, but now it's between $8,000 and $10,000. And that's not including installation, and if our DPW didn't wanna install it, we'd have to have it installed, which would be an extra cost. And at this time, it's not a route the commission, the Conservation Commission is wanting to pursue for these funds.
Okay, thanks.
Emily?
I'm okay right now, thank you.
John?
Nothing, thank you.
Kathy?
I'm good, thanks.
I'm all set.
Okay? I'll keep going on it.
Keep going.
I'll see you in a few weeks on November 14th.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Have a good night. All right. Next. Who's next on the list?
Anybody who wants to be,
Anybody that wants to,
except for Mike.
except Michael's last. Okay, go ahead. You, name?
Rio Sacchetti.
Yep.
I'm a developer with Penrose. We're the developer of the Cape Cod 5 building, the former headquarters in Orleans.
Right?
We received a CPC award from the board. Thank you for having me here to provide an update. We finally signed the CPC agreement. I think in the last update, we discovered that it was drafted and never signed. So that's been completed. We've also, since the last update, I think at the last update, we mentioned that we were awarded ARPA funds from Barnstable County. That has been documented now and drawn upon. So the project has accessed that. There's 8 different communities that contributed CPC funds to the project, which I always joke, I say is a world record. We've requested the funds from all the different CPCs, all the different towns in September and this month in October. So by the end of this month, I believe we should have drawn on all the CPC awards. The construction is 65% complete. It's on schedule and on budget. Completion date is late April, early May. That's when we plan to open, which was our original schedule. We'll begin advertising for the lottery and for the units. There'll be a lottery for the initial lease up. We'll begin advertising for that approximately, well, in between 90 and 60 days from when we expect to receive the first COs. And so that we'll probably have one or more information sessions to go over the lottery process with the public and anybody who's interested in applying. And in that initial lease up, there's a local preference and regional preference. We originally had asked the state HLC, Housing and Livable Communities, to approve a 65% local Orleans preference and then a 10% preference for the CPC contributing communities. And what the state finally approved was, so that would be like a total of 75% preference. What was finally approved by the state was a 70% preference, so we just reduced each one proportionately, the Orleans one and then the other one. They also would not limit it to just the towns that contributed CPC. It was Barnstable County. The construction's kind of going in 3 different stages. We have the rehab of the existing building, and then we have a new addition being appended to it, and then we have another 2 different buildings, which are just ground up new construction, stick frame, townhome style buildings. And so the existing building is the furthest ahead. We're actually started finishes recently. So in that building, all the windows are done, the siding's done, all the rough-ins are done, the framing's done, and the gypcrete floors have been poured. So we're actually installing flooring right now, and we just started recently installing cabinets and counters. And then in the new addition part, that's right now we're pouring the floors, the gypcrete floors. There's still a little bit of exterior work to be done. We're just wrapping up the siding, but the roof and the windows are in, and that will probably start with the finishes in the beginning of November. And then the new construction townhomes, those are the furthest, the last to be completed, I should say. They are still doing the siding. We have the roofing, the windows in. We just got all the rough-ins finished and approved. So we'll start installing flooring and finishes probably mid to late November. And then for the site work, we actually started with some landscaping to try to get that in before the season changes. And so all the utilities have been hooked up except for electric. And electric we're expecting to get energized by Eversource in the first week of November. So very soon. That's it. For my updates, I did bring 3 copies of the materials we submitted, which is an update as well as the most recent construction payment application, which also actually shows all the work that's been done to date and includes a project schedule. Should I?
Yes.
Okay.
I keep it for
If I
bookkeeping.
may I approach? Here you go.
Grand. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, all set. Questions from the board? We'll start. Marcy?
I did have a question, because I know it was postponed. Will there be some type of, like open house or something that we can view the project, when it's safe?
Yes. So we just started putting a team together on our side, our marketing staff, a couple of folks on the marketing staff, to start to work on a grand opening ceremony, which is usually bigger than a groundbreaking ceremony. We had originally intended to have a groundbreaking event, and that was I think last May or June, but there was a bunch of different scheduling conflicts with the state elected officials and then some of the Orleans folks. So it didn't work out, and so now we're regrouping efforts to have a grand opening event. We've just started on that, so there's no date been picked yet, but it will, we would like to do it in warmer weather, so it will probably be around the similar time that we expect the first units to become available, so in late April, early May, probably more like May. And we, once we have a couple dates and a time picked out with the town of Orleans, we'll start reaching out to all the contributing communities and other stakeholders in the project for their involvement and to get invitations out and speakers at the ceremony. So that is coming. Sorry I don't have more details on it, but we had just revisited it the other day in a project meeting to get the marketing staff ramped up on it.
Okay, thank you.
All set? John?
I'm all set, thank you.
Emily?
Well, just great to hear that you're on time and on budget. That's wonderful. And this inspired a question that probably isn't appropriate for you, but we had our housing production plan meeting at planning board on Tuesday night. I'm just curious, I know it's not in the town of Harwich, but does this contribute to the SHI?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so, but curious.
Wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking, exactly. That's it.
I
Thank
would
you.
like it to.
Yeah, no.
I'll send them.
All set. Thank you.
Kathy.
Yeah, just a quick question with regards to, say, marketing. In our guidelines, we ask that there be some sort of recognition of the fact that community preservation funds from the community were used. And so do they have some plans on listing the community someplace on some signage or something like that?
Yes, temporary and then permanent. So temporary, we have a project sign. We're actually replacing, a new one's going up soon, that has the town seals of all the contributing towns, as well as all the state funding programs and all the other lenders on the project. But that's on the construction fencing, it's a project sign. Almost every community CPC has the guidelines. It actually might be part of the state guidelines too for like a CPC sign. So what we're kind of struggling with the design is with 8 different towns. It doesn't really work on the typical CPC sign that you see. So
You can always use Harwich.
yeah, we're trying to figure out a way to do it where it doesn't look clunky. So we're not sure how to do that yet, but we'll have some proposal soon.
Okay. As long as it's being addressed.
Will you be setting up a website to access material for the general public on the application side? And when would you consider that a point of reference to get out there, get the information out there?
Yes, I don't believe it's been set up yet, but usually that's set up about 120 days before we open, so probably shortly. And the website will probably have floor plans on it and information about the lottery applications to be downloaded. And once the lottery is held, it's usually like videotaped, so we have it up there for folks who missed it or weren't able to attend.
Okay, that's great.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
when you have that website ready, I think that's such a great real-time thing that we can promote, and we'd love to co-promote it through some of the social outreach we do and maybe more.
Okay. Anything else from any of the board members?
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next, Chief?
Good evening. Norm Clark here with Joe Rigo
Thanks.
on the 20 Bank Street project. We're well underway. We won't be back for money. Get that out there right now.
Kathy will be happy about that.
I'll be happy about that.
Where we are with the project is, as you can see, the site work continues. We're about 95% complete on the septic system. On the interior of the building, the second floor has been rough plumbed, rough wired, rough security and fire. We have a contract ready to go in and do the plastering. We're waiting on fire sprinkler. That is our holdup. A little bit frustrated at this point because we were going great guns, but when you start relying on outside contractors and subcontractors, many times things come to a much slower pace than I'm comfortable with. But we're getting there. We have water into the building for the fire protection. We have domestic water in the building. Gas sleeve is in. We hope that will be next week. Was in communication with Eversource as late as this afternoon. We hope to have power in a pole next week. And we're moving right along. We're using right now the Housing Trust money, and we have not asked for the transfer of CPC money. That will go to the finish upstairs, the fire sprinkler, the security, the changes on the septic system that were required. So we're using, there was some confusion on how to access the public funds this year. We got through it. Chairman was very supportive and was a great help in trying to get that squared away. We're okay, but we were able to get the housing trust money a little bit quicker, and that's okay. That's about where we are.
I could comment a little. The historical restoration project will most likely be complete by our March meeting. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You agree? So by March, we can.
I wanted it done by November 1st.
So next report for you guys, the historical section will be complete. The site work is what is left, the cobblestone front. There's some lights to go up that have to go in the sequence of inspections. There's the signage we have to put up as discussed in the other reports.
Paint.
And paint, yep. So those are the things we have left for the historical project to be complete. So by March, I expect that to be, I expect that to be complete.
It'll be sooner.
And then the housing report, you've heard construction's going well. You've heard how we funded so far. We'll continue with the CPC money to complete it. Our personal housing committee is working with the lottery company and management company. So we're getting that ball rolling so that when everything starts to get cruising, we'll be ready to go. We're open for any questions.
Okay, we'll start with the board. Welcome, Mary. Mary, any questions?
So I might have missed it. The parking lot.
Yeah.
Is that your responsibility or the
Conservation Trust.
trust is doing that?
Yes.
So then what is your goal for occupancy, for full occupancy?
November 1st.
Of-
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your realistic goal for full occupancy?
We'd
With
like
building
to
department.
start occupying, January, February.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All set, Mary?
That's all I needed. Thank
John?
you.
I'm all set, thank you.
Kathy?
Just kudos to you guys. Organization that's jumped in and, supported you, and
A
you've
lot of support.
pushed along, and you're coming up with an actual product, which is so needed in the community. So kudos.
To your comments, if I may, I would be remiss not saying the cooperation and the guidance and the help that we've got from the two gentlemen sitting behind me. It's been really a great partnership. It's been enjoyable to work with some really dedicated, smart, committed people to this community. So kudos to them. And they put up with me.
Emily?
I'm all set, thank you.
Leslie?
I'm all set, thanks.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank
for
you.
the presentation.
Could I get you to send me the digital of this?
I had a feeling it didn't go through. I did send it, I'll try again.
Oh, no, you're right, I didn't get it.
I had to ask you personally if you got it. I'll try again on my email. I think there was an issue there.
Okay, should I give you my email just in case? Should I
have it.
send?
I have
Okay,
it. It's
all
fine.
right,
Yeah.
all right.
Thanks.
Larry, you're next.
I don't have much to say. 'Cause we
Great.
gave
Great.
a
No
pre-
comments.
We have a presentation, yeah, thank you, Dave. I gave an update a month ago or so
Yeah.
now.
September.
So this came up, and I first asked why, so I'm mainly here to answer questions.
Okay.
We have an application, answer question, we have an application in. Let me just briefly, we did go out, I think I mentioned last time, with an RFP for a rental assistance program. We chose the housing prevention group had the biggest, highest score. And I think, I just got an email today that that final draft should be coming to me tomorrow. So I'm hoping we get that in place. And as Norm says, that housing's going well, I guess. And I'm happy to hear we pay better than others or quicker, so we go with that. And, we're looking forward to our formal application in I think, Jan, I'm scheduled for December 5th.
Yes.
So, any questions?
Okay, I'll open it up to the board. Marcy,
I don't have any questions.
Kathy?
I actually don't have any questions.
Unbelievable.
I know. I'll get you next month.
Mary?
If Kathy doesn't have them, I certainly
know.
don't.
John?
Really?
Emily?
I'm all set too, thank you.
Larry? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll torch you next time around.
I know, I'll be prepared for that. I'll bring, hopefully I'll bring help at that meeting.
All right. Michael, you're up.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
That was great.
And Michael, just for the sake of you're not on here for comments,
Presentation.
presentation?
Application presentation.
Yeah, we're gonna put you under other. So, the floor is yours, sir. Would you please identify yourself?
Michael Locke, Executive Director of the nonprofit Harwich Conservation Trust. Also here is Tom Evans, who is President of the Harwich Conservation Trust Board of Trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to give updates on the enumerated town meeting articles, community preservation funded articles on this memo dated October 11th, 2024. Do you all have a copy of that?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So I'll start from the top, and it's great to be able to see your funded work featured on the newsletter. That's hot off the press. That just came out today. It'll be mailed town-wide next week. Town Community Preservation Committee is mentioned as one of the partner funders within the newsletter. The photo you see on the front is part of the half-mile wheelchair accessible Harwich Natural Heritage Trail project. It'll be a wonderful feature for people of all ages and all physical abilities in town and in the region. You can see the amount remaining from the initial $150,000 authorization under Article number 34, 2021 town meeting. We're working on connecting that half-mile loop to the trailhead and scenic overlook, which will also be wheelchair accessible. That is part of number 4, which we'll get to later in the status report. Would you like me to answer any questions as I review each one, or at the end?
Michael, what was the date again?
The date of that town meeting article?
Yes.
2021, article number 34, Harwich Natural Heritage Trail Project, Phase 1, authorization $150,000.
So you have,
$26,770.94 remaining. The project isn't finished, so we'll be spending authorization in the coming months. We hope to open the project, the trailhead, when the parking area, scenic overlook, is completed, hopefully in December.
okay. Okay. So, open it to questions from the board. Do you want to continue, or do you want it broken up?
I defer to you. If you'd like questions on each of the 6 projects in turn, or at the end, it's up to you.
Let's do it at the end.
Okay,
At the end, okay.
you've got the floor.
Great. Project number 2, which is article number 34 from the 2022 town meeting, is phase 2 of the same trail project. That was an authorization of $75,000 for the approximately 100-foot boardwalk bridge that crosses Cold Brook in the easterly part of the 66-acre Robert F. Smith Cold Brook Preserve. Again, that will be a wonderful amenity for folks of all ages to look north and south down the restored Cold Brook, which is now running free for the first time in over a century. That will be accessible to the public once we open the trailhead and parking lot and scenic overlook at 203 Bank Street, again, hopefully by the end of the year. That authorization has been fully spent and the funds dispersed by the town to Harwich Conservation Trust. Project 3 is Article number 24, originally from 2023 town meeting, and then corrected at the 2024 town meeting in Article 23. And that was to fund the approximately 5-acre acquisition for preservation purposes of the Bells Neck Road Herring River Land Project. $125,000 authorization toward a $325,000 land campaign for which the town received a permanent conservation restriction held by the Town Conservation Commission. And that funding has been fully spent and dispersed by the town to Harwich Conservation Trust when the conservation restriction was reported to the Town Conservation Commission. On side 2, page 2 of the status report, you'll see the sign, picture of the sign that's at Bells Neck Road there, recognizing the Town Community Preservation Act funds as one of the 3 funding sources for the land acquisition. It's a very important land acquisition in the Herring River watershed to protect that resource, as well as protect the scenic green belt along Bells Neck Road that connects Route 28 up to the town's Bells Neck conservation lands.
So, just really quick, would you go through those dates again and the article number,
Yes,
please?
yes. The original authorization took place at town meeting 2023, the article number 24. That article was later found to be deficient, and so it was corrected at the most recent town meeting this year, 2024, by article number 23. And so then we proceeded with the land acquisition and the conveyance of the conservation restriction to the Town Conservation Commission.
Okay, what was the amount on that again?
$125,000.
All right, so it does match up what I have. All right, thank you.
Yes.
I'm just trying to do some detailed bookwork here.
Absolutely, sure. Project number 4, which was authorized by town meeting voters through article number 26 at the 2024 town meeting, authorized $250,000 toward the Colebrook Trailhead and Public Access Project. That's the parking area, scenic overlook, and wheelchair accessible trailhead at the gateway to both the Robert F. Smith Colebrook Preserve and the Harwich Fire Association's Historic Preservation Affordable Housing Project there at the town's first firehouse. And we've been making great progress with local contractor TW Nickerson and spending down other project funds first before tapping into the Town Community Preservation Act funds mentioned here. So construction is underway, and we hope to finish in December and open the site by the end of the year. That's our aspiration. Number 5, project number 5 is again authorized by this past May 2024 town meeting through article number 31, the North Woods and Water Supply Protection Project. It was a $100,000 authorization toward a 7-acre acquisition by the Harwich Conservation Trust and a perpetual conservation restriction conveyed to the Town Conservation Commission. And once that took place, the funds were dispersed by the town accounting office. So that project is completed. It's a very important 7-acre tract because it links to over 1,000 conservation acres spanning 2 towns, Brewster and Harwich, and it also is about 1,500 feet away from one of the town of Harwich drinking water wells that serves about 10,000 households. Project 6 is, again, was authorized by town meeting voters through this past 2024 town meeting under article number 33. It's the Red River Valley North Project, $150,000 towards a $400,000 purchase by Harwich Conservation Trust. It's a part of a gateway property bordering on the north side of 28. As soon as one travels across the town border with Chatham towards Harwich, this is the property you see on your right. Right now, the conservation restriction is under review by the state. There's quite a backlog. There has been for a few years. And so once the conservation is reviewed by the state and we obtain the different approval signatures, we'll be able to convey that conservation restriction to the Town Conservation Commission and then seek disbursement of those funds towards this project. You will see, as of today, a Harwich Conservation Trust sign at that property. Typically, we wouldn't put a sign up until after the conservation restriction is recorded. But we wanted to do this at request of the family, the Baker family, that sold this property to Harwich Conservation Trust, because some of the family, there's a time sensitivity, and so it was important for that sign to go up sooner than later. So that's the status report on those 6 projects. I can't thank you enough for your support and your recommendation to the town meeting voters to support these efforts. A range of public benefits have resulted, and we look forward to giving you progress reports on the ones that are still underway. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to go towards you a little bit more. Again, 2024, Article 26,
Yes,
250,000 hasn't been accessed at all.
correct.
And Article 24, I'm sorry, 2024 Article 33, the Red River Valley project, the 150 hasn't been accessed at all.
Correct. We wait on those land acquisition projects until the conservation restriction is conveyed to the Town Conservation Commission.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll open it up to the board. Kathy?
I have no questions. We pick you apart at the beginning, but at the end, you're always, complete and neat and everything else. So kudos to you.
John? Thank you, Kathy.
So I have a comment and a question. My comment is, I actually joined Mike and Tom today at a tour of Putnam Farm in Orleans, and it's pretty impressive what they've done over there. A lot of community effort went into it. I'm not gonna say but, I'm gonna say and. It's pretty small scale. The restoration work they've done with a lot of effort, it's admirable. And what has happened at Coldbrook compared to that is way bigger. It's a much bigger deal. And the support that the town has given to this, in spite of maybe some, some complaints, but basically the town has been very supportive, and testament to the work that the Harwich Conservation Trust has done to have organized that project and gotten it to the point that it is today. It's not done, but it's very far along in an amazingly short time, at least in my view, an amazingly short time. Anyway, just to me, it was a big deal to see what other towns are doing and putting the work that has happened at Coldbrook in a different perspective than I had before, which makes me appreciate even more what's happening there. So then I have a question about Coldbrook. There was one pond that was filled in there, and there are 4 new ponds. What are you doing about finding names for the 4 new ponds?
Jeez.
Mr. Ketchum. Pond
Yes.
Ketchum Pond.
Yeah, okay.
That's a great question.
Have you even thought about names for those?
We have not. No, we're busy trying to finish the
There's a few other-
eco-restoration, the public access part.
Okay,
All set, John.
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, Emily?
I'm all set, thank you.
Marcy?
I don't have any questions, but just kudos. I really appreciate the work you've been putting in, and it shows, and you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Mary?
And I would just say the same. It looks, particularly Coldbrook, looks fantastic considering what the volume of work that you've got to get done to make that restoration happen. So, kudos. It came up in our planning board meeting 2 weeks ago when people were, questioning the subdivisions that we're doing. And, I brought up the fact that, we are preserving quite a lot of land in Harwich, and we have. So, between the work that you've directed here and together with the Conservation Office and the Conservation Commission as well, I was happy to direct people back to our website and to yours so that they can see, because they're not only good projects, but they're also meaningful projects. They're parcels that connect to other things. So it's not like a random plot of land that, 10 parcels, or 10 homes, but they're meaningful parcels. So, kudos and thank you. To John's point, the town has supported it, and it's, I think future generations will appreciate it, even if people don't quite yet. So, thank you.
Anything else from any member of the board? Carry on, sir.
Thank you all very much
You're
for your
welcome.
support.
Thanks for coming.
You gotta do the rest of it?
You want to hit on the rest of it now? Then you can leave. Go ahead, go.
Yeah.
All right.
I just changed the agenda.
That's unusual for you.
All right, which one first?
You're getting soft.
Getting tired.
The Cape Cod Rail Trail, are we doing that first?
Yes.
Okay. That's OS1.
I want to say also, thank you to Jan for organizing all of the behind-the-scenes effort to keep all these projects on track. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the emails and your work.
The many.
Yeah. Thank you again for the opportunity to propose two projects. You've seen the applications and the maps. So what I'll do is just summarize. The first project is the Cape Cod Rail Trail Land Preservation Project. It's a proposal to acquire and protect 50 acres. This is it's the largest remaining unprotected privately held property still in Harwich. This is also featured in the newsletter that you have there. And you would see a map of this property in the context of the Herring River watershed. Historically, the town has preserved a few significant areas in the vicinity, including in the 1960s, the Bell's Neck Conservation Lands, off to the southwest, off to the northwest is the Sand Pond Conservation Lands, which is an assemblage of both town and Harwich Conservation Trust protected lands. To the west is the 11-acre town Sand Pond Public Beach and associated lands. To the north is the 33-acre town land bank acquisition early in the land bank years from Main Street Cranberry. That was more recently leased to Leo Kukunis, and then just after that to the Cape Tech for its proposed future satellite campus for veterinary tech, science, educational, horticultural, educational training and programs. Off to the south east is Harwich Conservation Trust 30-acre Coysbrook Woodlands. So here we have this 50 acres right in the middle of all of those conservation areas with historically two streams, one flowing from Sand Pond and one flowing from Flax Pond through the property underneath the Cape Cod Rail Trail and Great Western Road into the Herring River to the south. So it's a very important area to protect for the Herring River estuary. It is capable of supporting a 9-lot subdivision. The views that everybody enjoys now from Great Western Road looking north and the Cape Cod Rail Trail looking north across this property would be changed if it were developed. So with this acquisition, we're hoping to protect those views. We're hoping to protect the water quality of Herring River. And we're also hoping to open a whole new trail system because this property is large enough to support its own trail system. We know from experience the 66-acre Robert F. Colebrook Robert F. Smith Colebrook Preserve. It's a very popular destination and will be even more so once we can open it and everybody can see the eco-restoration results. Part of the acquisition structure is that the owner, Ray Thatcher, wanted to continue farming for 2 years post-acquisition. And during that 2-year period, again, we're successful in raising the funds to purchase the property from Mr. Thatcher. We'll start the eco-restoration design process. We have a lot of experience now through the Colebrook process and more recently through the Hinckley's Pond Herring River Headwaters eco-restoration design and permitting process. On that particular project, we hope to go to construction later this fall or into the winter. So this proposal seeks $500,000 in Community Preservation Act open space funds for a conservation restriction to be conveyed to the Town Conservation Commission on the approximately 50-acre Thatcher property. I think it's important to note that with each of these projects that we propose for your consideration, we're always seeking other funding sources so that in effect your recommendation at town meeting for their consideration to vote an authorization for funding really leverages a significant amount of outside funding, whether it's raised through Harwich Conservation Trust or through other sources. And so in this case, given the total project cost estimated about $3.5 million, $500,000 in Town Community Preservation Act funds would leverage an additional $3 million in state and Harwich Conservation Trust funds to protect the Herring River scenic views and future walking trails. Thank you. Mr. Chair, may I ask at this time in your consideration, do you ask questions or you just receive the information?
We ask questions.
We always
I've got
have
a doozy
questions.
for you, but I'm gonna hold off. Mary,
I don't have anything yet.
okay?
I don't.
Nothing at this point. Thank you.
Marcy,
I don't have any questions at this time.
Emily,
One of my questions was going to be about the restoration, like what happens to the bogs afterwards, but you're working through and building out that plan. Are all the costs built in, or like what's the time frame for that?
Yes, so the majority of the funds in this $3.5 million total project cost are for acquisition. There is a portion in the budget for eco-restoration, design, and planning. We did just recently, because the grant program opened after we submitted the application, the CPA funding application, we did submit a proposal to the state's Division of Ecological Restoration to help fund at least 50% of the design process, and we hope to hear from them in the next few weeks. So again, we're constantly looking for other funding sources. After the design is funded, the last 50% from sources to be determined, then we would take those design plans and seek construction funding from state and federal sources, as we've done for the Hinckley's Pond Herring River Headwaters Eco-Restoration Project. That's the site that's opposite Cape Tech off Headwaters Drive and Pleasant Lake Ave.
Kathy?
Yeah, a couple questions. Does the funding that was granted, the $2 million, what's the name of the?
The state's Cranberry Bog for acquisition and future restoration grant program. It's only the second year of that program, and we were fortunate to be competitive with this project.
And granted $2 million.
Approved for $2 million.
Right. So does that prohibit you from us applying for a land grant? You know, the LAND grants?
Mm-hmm. I'll have to look into that. I'll
Is
have to
it,
get
is
back
it
to you.
unlikely because
It
of
might
the
be-
other grant?
It might be because it's already one state funding
Okay,
source.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you ever find out about the sewering?
In terms of which phase?
Or is it even going to be going that far into North Harwich?
I don't have an answer yet on
Okay.
that. I will look into that.
Okay. Okay. And then another question was about the tech school, potential project for the, whatever it's called, their agricultural and,
There's,
Some
I'll
of-
call it a satellite campus to
yeah.
the north on
isn't
the
there,
town
is
land.
there some animal stuff there with it? Animal husbandry or something like that? I don't know, whatever it is, but
That's my
whatever.
understanding.
Would this project, okay, have any intersection or impact with that project? Potentially down the road?
As far as competing grants?
No, I'm just talking in general.
Yes, there is a possibility that because it's the same groundwater, surface water connection. So just to orient everybody, the 33 acres that we're talking about that's owned by the town, it was an originally purchased by the town through the Land Bank Act. It's north of this property, across Main Street from the Thatcher property. And so there's a,
So it's not visible then from the street, is
it's
it?
visible from Main Street.
From Main Street, but not from Great
Road.
Western, okay.
Yes. So what we would do if we qualify for this, the state's Division of Ecological Restoration design and planning a grant to move us towards 50% conceptual design, is we would reach out to Cape Tech and the town to see if the tech was interested in having any of the three bog sites that are on that 33 acres be considered as part of the design process. We're waiting to see if we actually are approved for this grant before we take that step. It's really up to the tech and where they're at with their planning for the different phases of creating that satellite campus. But there's the potential.
Okay, and the last question has to do with timing. So you're gonna purchase the property, okay, and then
It'll be farmed for
hopefully
sure.
open it up to the public, and then move into the eco restoration sort of part of things, because it's gonna take a few years for permitting, et cetera, and then you would close down again, and then whatever. So what are we talking about in terms of time, potential timeframe?
Well, it's interesting.
I know you don't want to answer that, but,
It's a challenging question, because in our experience with the Colebrook Preserve, which was a little more complex in terms of eco-restoration, design, and permitting, that took over a decade
right,
from planning through construction. Whereas the Hinckley's Pond Herring River Headwaters Eco-Restoration Project design started about 3 years ago, and we're going to be moving into construction thanks to a federal NOAA grant this winter. So a much shorter time frame. I would hope that we would be in the 3 to 5 year time frame to reach construction, but of course that's contingent on actually being approved for state and federal eco-restoration construction funds. So
yeah, I
that-
was just thinking about public perception, you know, we bring something, once it's approved here, to town meeting, and we present it to the voters, and, you know, we're saying that this is gonna be a purchase, and it's gonna be open to the public and whatever, and then we have the potential of shutting everything down, or not we, but it being shut down, and so I was just kind of curious as to how that's gonna be, you know, thought out, that's all.
It's a good point, and we have experienced that firsthand when we've had to close the trails at the Colebrook Preserve, and when eco-restoration construction starts at the Hinckley's Pond Herring River Headwater site, we're gonna have to do the same. So again, you're right, we would anticipate doing that also at this 50-acre site.
The theory being that you're getting better each time, right?
Yes, more efficient. And people are becoming more patient.
Okay, all right, I'm good.
Okay, we're getting, the CPC's getting back to its roots with land bank. So, quick question, just for my own curiosity. The tributaries into Herring run north up and through this property? And does it go underneath the highway up into Long Pond. So is this the same area that Jimmy Marsline used to clean out and open up to keep the herring going? Are we talking about?
A little different geographical area. So based on our research of USGS topographic map from the early 1900s, there was two perennial streams running through this property, one from Flax Pond and one from Sand Pond. And
So it stops there?
and then it flows through the property, the 50 acres, and right now, every day, there's actually water flow under the Cape Cod Rail Trail and under Great Western Road into the Herring River Marsh system just to the south. And so, historically, there were two surface water streams that flowed through there. Today, on the Flax Pond side of the property, before the water reaches and goes through the culvert under Main Street, at times of the year, that water is subsurface, so it's dry. The stream bed is dry. Now, is that because of water control north of Main Street? Is that because of water control activities south of Main Street? I think that's all going to be determined by the eco-restoration planning study, which will take into account hydrology and groundwater levels on average throughout the year. So we're going to learn a lot once we start gathering that data about the site, including hydrology, as to whether there will be a fully restored stream on both sides of the property. It's a little hard to convey that without pointing to a map, but there is a map in your newsletter, and Emily, is that page 4? That's on?
Yep.
Yeah, if you look at that in your newsletter, you'll get a sense of where this property sits relative to those two ponds. So that's the best I can answer your question.
Okay. And I'm gonna bring you over to the dock side. You're not gonna allow any hunting on that property, are you?
There won't be any hunting on that property. It's too close to Great Western Road and Main Street and the Cape Cod Rail Trail, and we're also going to have walking trails on that property.
Okay. Answers that question. Anything else from any, Mary?
Just one silly question. So to Kathy's point, we bring it to town meeting now. When will you need those funds? Are those funds that you're gonna let sit here for a couple of years and you're gonna need them right away?
This is for acquisition.
So that's what I just wanted to
Thank
point
you.
out.
Yeah,
That if it's,
yeah.
at least we know that portion is gonna get done right away. So,
They'll be immediately used when they're available, July 1.
perfect. All set.
Okay, anything else from any member of the board? Okay,
Okay. Thanks so much. The second project to introduce is the Island Pond Lavender Farm Preservation Project. So historically, over the past 25 years, there's been important town and Harwich Conservation Trust partnership acquisitions through at least 7 different projects that created the approximately 80-acre Island Pond conservation lands. This assemblage is located east of the Cape Cod Rail Trail and surrounds the Cape Cod Lavender Farm. The area is north of Island Pond Cemetery. So this proposal seeks $200,000 in Community Preservation Act funds to add to this assemblage by acquiring 2 acres that could be divided into approval not required lots off of Island Pond Trail. And in this case, if $200,000 was recommended and approved by town meeting, recommended by your committee and approved by town meeting voters, that would leverage an additional $360,000 in state and Harwich Conservation Trust funds to protect this town's investment in Island Pond conservation lands.
all set? Okay, we'll open it up to the board. John?
I don't think I have any questions at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Mary?
I have nothing yet.
Kathy?
I'm gonna refer back to a Rios meeting. We wanted to make sure that the property was free and clear of any tax liens.
The title report.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And I had another question, but it left me, so I'll come back.
Emily?
I'm all set right now, thank you.
I'm all set.
We're back.
I know, it left me, I don't
Sorry.
know what it was, sorry, thanks, to big help.
I'm glad to
Maybe I didn't.
return and
okay.
answer any future questions.
Oh, I know. It was a simple question. Priority. You have to prioritize your two projects.
Yes, you're right.
Tonight,
Pardon?
tonight.
Tonight. Thank you for that. If we had to choose,
Everybody gets the same torture, trust.
if we had to prioritize the two projects, we would ask for the Thatcher property, the Cape Cod Rail Trail Land Preservation Project to be prioritized over this one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, all right, and then for the board.
Thank you all very much. Glad to return to answer any other questions.
There may be few.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir,
Thank
for
you all very
coming.
much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, moving on, discussion about the land grants, grant agreements. So I put this on the agenda because I think after going through a discussion with the town administrator and some of the members of the Board of Selectmen, we should probably our grant agreement structure, because they are using an outdated grant agreement from maybe 6 years ago.
Yep.
So, I'll put that on the floor for discussion. Mary, would you like to lead that off?
I would presume that
Good night, folks.
town council probably has a more updated version, and we should simply ask them for it. Simply have them, because ultimately, they have to review them before they go before the Board of Selectmen anyway, so I'm surprised that we're quote-unquote still using an old version, because as lawyers, we update them all the time, and we use the most recent. So, that's a little confusing to me.
Kathy?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, I mean, yes, you're right, it has to come from legal, but I noticed in reading the grant agreements this year that there's some language in them that doesn't, it doesn't work with what is in our guidelines.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we need to tell legal, this is, yes or no, this is what we require, and then they can work into their thing, and then, we can take a look at it.
So
That makes more
formulate the
sense.
parameters of
Yeah.
what we want.
Yeah,
Yes, to Kathy's point, if it's updating it to our information, then sure, we absolutely should. We should have done it before.
And
But
are all the grant agreements signed?
I don't know the answer to that question. I've been dealing with this.
Okay, darn it.
But I will get that information for you. John?
Sure, I think we should update the grant agreements, and my somewhat distant view of this, it's been going on for quite a while, and I think that the more initiative that's taken here as opposed to somewhere else, the quicker it's gonna get taken care of. That's my point of view, so, the more input we have, the more directly, particularly those of you who understand these things, the more direct input, I think, the better off we're gonna be, and the quicker this will get resolved. Hopefully, it will get resolved and won't be a perennial issue.
All set, John.
Yes.
Emily?
All set, thank you.
I'm all set.
Leslie?
All set, thank you.
do we know if agreements are getting executed? Do we know if any that haven't been executed, if anybody's had access to the money. I mean, the goal is always, right, that they don't get access to the money until they sign the agreement.
Penrose has been executed.
Okay.
They haven't accessed the money though yet.
No, but
Still
they
in the
haven't
pot.
accessed. That's correct. As far as the rest of them are concerned, I do not have that answer,
All right. Just curious.
so.
I wouldn't think they would have, but.
Well, I think there's a disconnect between, may I speak?
Go.
I just think there's a disconnect between the sort of the whole process. Like, you know, who is responsible for signing the grant agreement first? You know, where does it originate from? Who gets it to sign? When does it go to the Board of Selectmen? Where does it go after that? Then, does the finance, department, know, did they get assigned? I mean, like, I just don't think we have a process.
So perhaps, post-town meeting, this board should send, through David, a letter to the selectmen saying, now that these are approved, these are the grant agreements that need to be signed. If we can, here are some changes that we recommend get made to update a couple of the provisions for council to review, so the council can review and prepare agreements for.
I'd like to have that review in beforehand, because it may take them months to get to it.
Okay,
So if we get it into them by the first of the year,
Yeah.
and they have until after Maytown meeting to come back to us with a updated grant agreement, then we send it to say to the Board of Selectmen, here's the things that need,
how about sometime between January and February?
okay, that's fine.
I
Not
wouldn't
gonna have
mind.
it this year.
Oh, do I. All right, so what's the consensus of the board? Do we does each board member put down some recommendations that they would like to see in a draft of a grant agreement? How do we go about this?
Has everybody seen a sample of the grant agreement? Okay, that's where we need to start.
To start, yeah.
So there is a sample of the grant
Right.
agreement
Online.
at the end. Online, it's attached to the informational packet,
Right.
which is still available online on the CPC webpage. There's a link to it. So there's a grant agreement at the end.
So I don't know whether or not that's the grant agreement that's being accessed at this point by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
My guess is, I'm not gonna guess, I don't know the answer to the question.
So we can still
if we
start,
see
we can
that-
still start with it
Right.
for our purposes here, start
Exactly.
with that, and go from there.
I would say everybody should take a look at it and be ready to discuss it in January,
Oh,
or,
January.
or
Okay.
February, beginning of February.
January's, I mean, as long as it's not
Okay.
before the end of the year.
Well, we've got other stuff that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be deliberating and discussing all these articles, so we don't have time anyway, so.
No.
Okay. Can you, Jim, would you please?
Why don't I email the copy of the GA to everybody, so they'll have it in their records, and when they're bored, they can look at it. And after we vote on the applications, then that would be an agenda item. And we'll
Yeah.
bring it in.
Good idea.
And we'll get everybody's suggestions,
Okay.
okay.
Sounds good.
Is that the consensus of the board? Then
Yes.
we'll do exactly that. Okay, next, social media, Facebook. I reached out to Emily, and I can't bloody remember what the question
I
I
didn't
was
answer your
gonna
call or
ask.
listen to your voicemail for a couple weeks, so I felt bad.
So, and I still can't remember what the heck I was thinking of.
We'll come to it.
Anyway, any
Not
questions?
gonna come back now.
No, I know, it's out there,
Right, it's gone.
It's gone.
it's in the
Just
land
accept it.
somewhere.
Right.
So on the social, and Kelly's transitioning things to me. I'm gonna try to set up time with Cindy at the Chamber, Ginny or her delegate at the library, and just touch base and understand process. And it would be easier for me to get ahead of things, and when I have time, just do a bunch of posts and schedule them, so I'll work with them for that process. But I liked where we were headed a little bit earlier, thinking like, can we do some really timely things? So if there is opportunity to promote the lottery for any of the projects we're involved in, et cetera, I think that would be great. So
Yeah,
we'll work
absolutely.
towards that.
Okay, any questions from the board?
No, but I mean, the timing for the fire station ones too would be
Yes, yes.
appropriate, yeah.
Anything, anybody else? All set? Thank you. Okay, next, website update.
Okay. Couple things. One is, I had a conversation with Sarah Eaton yesterday and then today, and she finally sent an email to Emily.
I did, I got my credentials, I logged in.
So Emily is finally set up,
Woo-hoo.
edit the webpage. And we can talk about that at some point.
Welcome to Civic Plus.
I just
Where-
logged in quickly.
where
I
things
need
just-
your help and guidance.
Well, why don't you tell me how you want to proceed with that, and I happily spend some time with you. I have to say that I've been finding the new version of Civic Plus to be less intuitive, I guess is the way I would put it, than the old version of Civic Plus. It's more capable and has more features and is therefore just a little harder to retain what needs to be done to accomplish.
So can I ask a question? Does this version have a document center and an image center and widgets? Because
Well,
my version is such that before I'm going to update any of my pages, I have to upload a document into my section of the document center, so that then when I go to add it to my page, I can copy my link from my document center into my page. And it's a multi-step, it feels like there are too many steps that have to happen in order to get there. And you have to pick the right widget so that
No, I don't
you're
understand
set up in the right,
what
in the right manner. So that's, I'm curious if this is that version or if this is even a newer version. It's
Um,
bizarre.
When you speak of widgets, I'm going right, I went
Me
right to
too, I went right
Munis.
to economics.
I went right to Munis.
No, I went to economics in high school.
so what you're describing sounds to me more like the way it used to be. There used to be a section there called the cabinet, I think is what it was called,
Yeah.
where I could find all the documents that I'd uploaded. And it was, I mean, it was still a multi-step process, but I knew where to go to find documents I uploaded 3 years ago. They were right there.
Yeah.
The new one mixes all my documents in with everybody else's documents.
Oh, they haven't separated by department.
I don't-
We don't have
Yeah.
a department.
Understood.
Whatever.
That's frustrating.
Well, the whole thing has been a little frustrating, but, you know, I have updated the webpage. Yesterday I renamed all the links to all the proposals with their official CPC designations, OS1, et cetera, and they're all up there, and there's still some more updating that needs to be done on the webpage, which I will work on, but it's more or less all in place at this point. Probably, if you, Mary, or anyone else wants to talk
Yeah.
about the weeds, probably we can do that offline.
No, it looks great. I mean, it looks great. I was curious whether it was as complex as ours is, which I find annoying.
She's looking for help.
It may be a little perverse, but I'd be happy to talk to you about what you have if I could help you with anything. I guess I just want to say that one of the things I ran into when the applications came in is because the way the new webpage works and the way I set it up in sort of a casual way, there was a possibility of uploading an unlimited number of documents. So I merged these things together into a single PDF file, but there were some of the applications that came with like, I don't know, there was one that came with 13 uploads, which I've got to figure out how to squash that next time, because that's cruel and unusual or something. But
Right.
otherwise, I think things are more or less in place right now, but
Realistically, Emily, do you speak this language?
I do kind of, but not, I do, but like,
Civic Plus is an animal that is municipal only.
but
It's-
John's in it all the time, so like,
I'm not in it all the time.
I know, but you're like a whiz. When you were showing me before, you're gonna have to show me how to be a whiz again.
But Dave, just to respond to this, it's not rocket science. It's just like learning a process. It isn't necessarily about software even. It's just about learning a process. It's about learning Munis or whatever, you know some of these things because you've had to deal with them. This isn't any different. It's just something you have to figure out how to do and do it. And whatever, I'm sure Emily can figure it out. I'm not going anywhere, but we really need the backup, so we need to just, persevere. And it's taken a while. And part of the issue with not getting Emily on until now has been just, I think, various things involved with the software transition that the town is going through. It has to get licenses for emails, it has to get licenses for specific uses of the website, and until those things are in place, or unless they're in place, there's extra money being spent on it isn't, you don't just pay upfront a set fee, and then you can do whatever you want with the software.
I understand what you're saying, I deal with Comcast, I get it.
Well, right, it's the same thing except, on a
On a
much
pound.
larger,
Yeah.
more complicated scale. So taken this so long to sort of get to the point where we are now, where Emily is now onboarded to edit the web page, and we can start talking about getting her up to speed on managing things. Not that there's a lot to be done, that needs to be done right now.
Kathy?
Yeah, two questions. One, the application on the new website, was it well received? Have you heard any comments or
Feedback.
negatives or positives or anything?
Well, I just told you my comment, which is we need to control better what people are uploading. But
Right.
that's just on our end. But the only issue is the issue we've had, which is people want to have drafts. And
They want to have what?
Drafts.
they want to be able to print
Drafts.
off
I
a
couldn't hear
draft
Yes.
so that they can take it to whatever committees or whoever needs to look at what the application is. And that was rough this year partly because of the software transition, what credentials people had to have. One of the transitions that's going to be taking place, I understand, in town, is all committee members are going to, not just CPC, but all committee members are going to be getting Town of Harwich emails.
Whoa.
But, it's not a big deal if you don't use it, but it's a credential you can use when you're, like, doing an application.
Yeah.
So that you can save a draft.
Right.
If you have the right credentials, and one of the complaints I had was somebody trying to save a draft, thinking they had the right credentials, and it not working. And I didn't manage to resolve that at the time. I heard the complaint, but it wasn't resolved.
But-
The application got submitted one
Right.
way or another,
But-
but,
Other than that, overall, it was positive.
yeah, I didn't hear any
Okay,
other.
all right.
any other-
My second question, access to the applications. Last year, you had put them in a Google Drive for us.
I didn't do that this year.
Right, so, yeah, I know that, so I finally learned it. Now you didn't do it. So So how do you want us to access the applications other than that first link that you sent?
They're now up on the webpage. That link will still work,
Yeah,
or you can just go to the CPC webpage. And the
Okay.
first item there is about
okay,
the current proposal process, and the first,
Okay.
bullet is a link to
okay,
those things.
all right, thank you.
Currently have it up on my phone.
Oh, there you go,
24,
okay,
25 links.
okay,
It starts with CH1 and goes
Okay.
all the way down to Rec 6.
okay.
This is gonna sound a little strange to this board, but I highly recommend it. If in fact, each and every board member throughout the town is gonna get an email address from the town, I highly recommend that you go out and buy a computer specifically to use in whatever board that you sit on. All the information from that board or any emails that may be necessary,
You're dreaming. You're dreaming.
Yeah, you buying these
I would
computers?
highly recommend. I've seen it happen once this town, so please don't tell me it doesn't happen.
It does happen.
So
It does
it's
happen,
if
but
you
if-
have your own,
But if you
have your own-
use,
if you have your own computer that you buy specifically for the town, take the tax write-off on it, keep that computer and keep,
right up on it, my friend.
keep all that email on that single computer.
So as
Don't
lo-
put it on
as
any
long as
other
you use
computer
the-
in your home.
as long as you use your town email address, then you don't have a big risk. It's when you use your personals and somebody subpoenas it, that's when you have issues. So a town email is a positive thing.
I feel.
I am
no-
not going out and buying
saying
another
it's
laptop
positive
just
or
to use.
negative. I'm making a
I will-
recommendation to this board.
I will
to
say I'm
use
not
all
going
of
out to buy a third laptop or something so that I can just use it for town stuff.
I personally feel no need to have a town email. So I won't be
There
doing
may-
that.
There may not be a choice. I don't know.
So, but
Have fun
the
with
town
that.
may make an email for you, and hey, if you don't go in and log into the email ever, or set up anything, then, but the
It
other,
becomes a moot point.
it becomes moot, but the other part of it is, you can access the town email through a web browser. So you're not downloading any email onto your computer. It's not like your computer has your town email on it. You're just looking at it through a web browser, which is the way, it's the easiest way, as opposed to, taking like, I don't know, I forget what the Microsoft email is, but you could set up an email client
365?
on your, well, if you set up an email client on your computer, so you're actually downloading your town email onto your email client that's on your computer, then it's all on your computer, and then maybe the thing that Dave is worried about is a problem. But if you just access it, I'm not a lawyer.
I'm gonna be off this committee
I
before
just
that
want you
happens,
guys to
so.
get
So,
I hate
so
to
any of
say.
our emails about public matters are public records, so,
Yeah,
so
right.
I would much prefer to have a town email address that I can communicate town business with. I will leave it at that.
Agreed.
But it does not rise to the level of buying a second or third laptop so that I am only using it on, I'm only using that email on that laptop.
I disagree.
You do you, I will do me.
Fair enough.
So, never access your town email, except when you go to the library, use a public computer, use a web browser, go and access your town email on the library's thing, then,
And you're all set.
but I'm not a lawyer, so don't take that as
Don't take
legal advice.
Well, you better not make me go through a town website email, because you guys won't be checking, and then I give you guys last minute things all the time. So, it'll slow
We'll
us
worry
down.
about that when
Right.
the time comes.
Right.
Okay, Kathy.
Okay, can we just, I wanted to just go back to the report updates, the status updates. And, there are a couple, the list that we have on open projects, some of them have been completed, so I understand it wasn't a necessity for a report. But for things that we don't know if they're completed, are we gonna get an updated report? Like, for example, like the Monomoy Regional School District press box?
Didn't get a report.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, I'll explain something real quick. When we talked about the update reports, the committee decided that anything that was approved and got their funding July 1st of 2024, I was going to ask for a report from those. Press box, soccer pitch, all of those. I did. Anything, any project manager that had an open project prior to 24 was invited to the October 10th meeting to answer questions and present their report. When we changed the date from October 10th to the 24th, we gave the project managers the option of, if you had a time conflict, okay, I still want the report. Now, why we don't have all the reports,
They didn't get back.
Well, I guess my question is what's the follow-up gonna be? Because
I'm gonna ask
we
them
need a
one more
report from
time
the,
like an
it's
ad.
the Skinnequit Pond remediation project. We didn't get it we didn't get it 6 months ago. We're not getting it now.
Joe gave us a report a couple months after the spring updates. Joe did.
Yeah,
Even, I was asking, oh, and FYI, Joe gets a copy of every town request for updates.
whatever. But,
No, he made that specifically to me,
yeah,
and I wanted to make sure that
But
happened.
so, Joe didn't give me the skinny quick this time. He did last time, but,
so are you saying it didn't come from the natural resources person?
right,
Okay, but we have some questions about the project.
right.
So I guess the
He was
question
invited.
is how can we, it's,
So they received an invitation,
right,
reminder that we want this, what we're looking for as far as the report. They were given a reprieve of 2 extra weeks to get it done.
well, I think we should take our guidelines and highlight the section that says they're required to do a biannual report, say that the date has passed and we'd like a report in by the next meeting. They don't have to come in person, but if we have questions, we're gonna call them back. So, I just think that there's a couple that have been outstanding and that, we need an update. A lot of times the projects that were awarded funding in July 1st, as of July 1st, 2024, they haven't even started their projects yet. They're all going out for, they're in the thinking process still. And I understand that, that's fine. But past projects, we should be able to get, they're supposed to report back to us, according to the guidelines, within 30 days of the completion of a project. And
That's,
we don't do that. But I'm just saying, so, I just think it would be nice if we could get a couple.
So email Jen your concerns, and a couple of those.
Okay, all right.
Specifically, and Jen, send an email to the town administrator and whoever the project manager is. But include CC the town administrator.
yeah,
Okay?
Yeah. Like, just an example, we got the report from the Housing Authority about the rental assistance program. And it clearly stated, that they were coming to a close, all right? With the advent of the potential new rental assistance program. There are funds that are left. So does that mean we can rescind the funds or not? Are they encumbered or not? We need a person to answer those questions.
So that's a housing authority question.
Yeah.
And I tried to ask that question at the stakeholders meeting for the local housing production plan, and Emily was sitting next to me and can share how well those questions went over with some people in the room. So
if you
They
want,
didn't
we
answer
can
the
write,
question?
No? Okay, well, I think that
we can have specific questions that we can email.
it's
and
within our-
expect a
we have it in
response.
our guidelines, so it's within our guidelines, with respect to that, we can ask the question and require an answer, I think.
We were specifically told at the meeting that they were all different programs. And I tried, right. So,
All right.
All right, so what's the, what's the consensus of the board? Do you want them here in person? Or do you want a written document?
I don't know the last time we had a person here from the Housing Authority.
They came last
Oh,
year.
no, they came
I
after.
might have missed that meeting, so that's what I'm saying.
They
I
came
don't-
after
I
the
don't know.
fact.
But we gave them a reprieve of not demanding them in person, or requesting
Right.
them to come in person, just because we had a date change.
Right, I get that, but now.
But in the
Because of the
future,
re-
everyone
no,
has to
but
come.
Because of the subject of, the body of their report states that they're coming to a close and that there's funds that are still available, we need to know. So we simply can ask them, you
Yeah,
know.
we can send a
I can go through the list and say if there's like 2 or 3 that need more specifics. And we can either ask them to, you know, because if they think those funds can be rescinded and there's like $50,000, then they need to either come and tell us that, or they can send us an official letter and say, it's okay to rescind those funds, and then we will do that. We'll do that by a
I
vote.
would do that with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was part of the question about the rental assistance program that we had 2 years ago, because they weren't able to use the funds because it wasn't a large enough stipend. So we had asked the question as to whether they were, like, the $300 wasn't enough to actually put somebody in a rental unit. So we had asked the question, could that number be changed?
Yeah, I don't think
And
that
I-
was addressed
And I
in there.
don't remember, I don't remember if it was Tracy that came in. I don't remember being here for the meeting. So I just,
come in.
so I don't know what the balance was in that.
Well, she just
Of
sent
our
us a
funds.
report, though.
Okay.
She just sent us a report. And the report says that,
So is the intention not to continue with their program?
it
once-
doesn't say that, but it sort of implies it.
At that point, what Tracy had said for me to convey is that they are planning to spend the money down, and then before they start the new program, which is going to be starting. But if you want more specifically in writing,
Before the new program is started.
Right.
But they're 2 different programs, run by 2 different
right,
groups. So one doesn't have anything to do with the other one. So how,
Right.
right, no, I know what you're saying.
so
She's-
why would one wait until the other one was run down? They wouldn't. They're not gonna wait. The Housing Trust is not gonna wait, having the thing run by the Prevention Council or whatever it is. They're not gonna wait until this 50,000 is run down. That doesn't make any sense. They're not the same.
So is the intention to still continue with the housing, the one that the Housing Authority is managing currently, with the $300 for the 3 years? I think it was $300 a month for
Yeah,
3 years.
right, yeah, to spend that, rest of that down.
But, so I guess my concern on that is that
Why,
in the last 3 years, they haven't, we were told at some point that those funds hadn't been being spent because there wasn't enough money to put people in housing. So to some degree, we don't want to tie up
Right.
money, but I don't know what's in place for us to rescind those funds either. So I don't know the
I
answer.
guess
to
Hence
that.
the
need
need
more
for,
clarification.
hence the need for an
Yeah.
in-person,
Yeah.
you know,
I just don't
whatever.
know the answer.
Because, I mean, this thing says, at this point is our understanding that the town of Harwich is currently working on a new rental assistance program to go into effect as ours comes to a close.
that's,
Right,
This program will be administered by case management professionals with different and more up-to-date parameters based on the current housing situation. Okay,
So I guess, so my comment to that is, I don't believe the funds could be transferred from the Housing Authority to the new program.
no.
no, it's
I'm not suggesting that at all.
But that, I'm stating that
You're
for,
making
if that was an intention, I don't think that's possible.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all.
I know
No,
you're
no,
not, I'm
that's the
saying,
thought process.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
if that was the thought process
Exactly.
of the Housing Authority
right.
or
Oh.
the director, that I don't think that's,
Yeah, according to
be
their,
done under the
according to
CPC.
their spreadsheet, the amount of money that is unencumbered right now,
yeah.
okay, is $60,000. Okay? Now, I'm assuming that they've encumbered, and they have a balance of like 114 payments, it looks like, that are encumbered of 52,000. So I think that they have figured out from the existing families that they have, what the rental payment plan is moving forward, whether it's a year or 2 years, whatever it is for what they have left, and that they have not encumbered 60,000, and maybe they're planning on not encumbering that 60,000. We don't know,
Right,
but it'd be nice to know, because we could put that 60,000 back into,
right.
you know, community housing.
Right. Yeah.
That's all.
So what would you like?
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
I'll draft a question and I'll send it on to
Yeah,
her.
I will just look over the list and see if there's any that we need additional information on. And then we just really need to, you know, get that.
Is there anything you wanna?
I
Okay.
trust Kathy.
How about
I don't
any-
have the,
any other board
the
member?
brain power to deal with that in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I gotta get through November 5th.
Got it. Anything else from any of the other board members?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, John.
this relates to content on the website, because we have two documents which are affected by this discussion. One is a complete list of all the projects, which I updated that list. I think you reviewed it, Kathy, if I remember right, in July. That was after town meeting.
Right.
But probably the material in there is already out of date,
Yeah.
because part of what's reflected in there is other rescissions. In progress, and we talked about this when, September or earlier, and I think the decision was made to wait until this fall, but now here we
Yeah.
are, and we're still having this discussion, and there's still doubt about this, but should we be trying to get more up-to-date versions of these documents up on the website sometime soon?
Which documents?
Funded projects still in progress,
Yeah.
which
Sure.
the most up-to-date one is what Jan sent out the other day.
Yeah, and that
Or-
included some stuff that was already, has been done.
Right, so,
We should take them off the list.
Well, we have to take them off the list when they tell us it's done.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they're on that list now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see something that's like,
Yeah, you definitely want those in the minutes.
do you see something?
Well, so for example, the Affordable Housing Trust has had both of their,
I think I just put this last
Disbursements.
one on. Well, but we still need a progress, whether
Well,
they
that's
have their
different. I mean-
money or not, that isn't why I do that list.
I know, I know.
This, in my little world, these are projects that are ongoing, and we want to know what they're doing with the funds. That's what this list is.
So even
It's
if they
nothing
are
to do with what the
complete,
accountant
they
says.
should come here, tell us they're complete, so that goes on the record.
Okay, so in that case, we need to hear from some of these other projects that
Yes.
we know the projects are complete. Like the Harwich Police Soccer Club Street Soccer Pitch, say that 10
They
times
bought
fast.
it?
Right.
They have received their money and
Yeah.
have purchased their whatever, and
Should've
so
told us.
we need something from him. Now,
Yeah.
maybe the option to not come was confusing for people, and so we at least need, I know, but I'm just saying, we at least need a letter from them, a status report,
Yeah,
written that says the money's been dispersed, the project
Project's
is
complete.
completed, the recognition is gonna be as such.
yeah, kind of, until I get something in my hand from them, or verbal, written or verbal,
So put
They
that
don't
on the
come off that
docket,
list.
email to
All
the
right,
secretary and she'll
okay.
forward.
so, okay, that doesn't
Sure.
answer my question, however, about, I mean, there's always gonna be this uncertainty
Yeah.
about one project or another. So, should we just put a list up there which reflects all the projects that have not been officially stricken? And maybe it's some minor incentive, probably not, but maybe it's some incentive, you know, if, for those who are not just bothering to let CPC know what their status
So-
is, that they're still showing here as open projects.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want it to be misinform, I mean, we don't want to confuse anybody.
Keep me out of it.
I
So
mean,
it's just us who should be
just us. I'm
confused.
just saying, we don't want to list, we don't want to have too many lists to access.
Well,
you
no,
know.
I would, so,
John, now we're in the weeds.
okay.
Can I make a small suggestion? Could we maybe just put does the list have a through date, like this is through June
These things,
1st of 2024, or?
that's what the bullet points say. Complete list of Harwich-funded projects from 2004 to 2024, updated July 2024, and then funded projects still in progress as of January 2024.
Yeah, that was the last.
So is it sufficient to just leave that until January 2025? In which case, I'll stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it and see what needs to be updated.
Great.
All right, so,
Fair enough.
I think it's more information than anybody's had from us before,
oh,
so,
God, yes.
right? So, I mean, I think, I wouldn't, as a taxpayer, that wouldn't bother me that it wasn't updated since January.
Okay.
Back in the day, we had to go back to the library and look up their
Yes.
copy of the paper copy of the
Yes.
application if we could find it. And if we
Yes.
couldn't find it, it was probably buried someplace, never
Yes.
to be seen again. We got whole years that are missing, so,
Yes.
yeah, like, we've come a long way.
Yes,
All right.
and thank you, John, because it was very easy to access the applications
There you go.
Okay.
from the paper queen.
We're gonna go back to the other, couple of things, house cleaning I have for you. I met with the finance director, the interim finance director. He's gonna put together some numbers for us, and, it's gonna be done in an Excel spreadsheet, and that will come in time. I've also authorized the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator that the truing up of the accounts for CPC will be done by an outside source, and that roughly $15,000 of CPC admin funds will be used to do that project. There's been a lot of resistance through the last period of time, and now that there's certain information that's out there that I can't disclose yet, I think there's a fundamental understanding with all the Board of Selectmen that this needs to happen. So, I'm informing the board what is going on. And that's about it. That's as far as I can go. There will be more information later. Anything from any of the board members for the next meeting? And does the meeting date
14.
work for you?
Oh, everybody already said yes.
Okay, didn't know that. Anything on the agenda?
Meeting's the 14th, correct?
Yep.
And nothing else in November.
Oh, I thought there were two in
There
November.
were two in November.
No, we only needed one extra meeting. I found out availability of the best,
Oh.
and we went with the 5th of December, so only 3 meetings to go over applications.
Okay, so did you send that out?
Yeah, when you guys got your list of the applications. Meeting dates are on the right, subject matters in the middle, then the name of the project and the amount. Question, the Cape Cod Tech project. It said rec/open space. What is it? It's not both. What is it? Their application, they stated that. Nobody read that?
I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, I know, I saw that. I mean,
I'm confused, I don't know.
Don't be confused over it. It's
We'll
really
figure it
a
out when we
funding
get
thing.
there.
It's
What?
category.
We'll figure it out when we
We'll
get
figure it
there.
out when we get it.
Yeah, that's,
Take a look at it and see if it fits the open space criteria, that's all.
You already have it.
Yeah,
And
but
some
I
of us
mean,
have a little bit, oh, there are
we
a few
haven't,
other
like,
things to
we
do.
haven't had to review that project yet.
yeah,
Okay.
it's not in front of us, Jim.
It's not set in stone, but I think they're November 14th.
Okay,
We still don't need to know November 14th. We don't need to know until we voted, which won't be
Okay,
until
so-
January or February.
Yeah.
Okey-doke. Well, currently, I'm calling it rec.
Okay,
Okay,
for, for purposes of,
My little
Okay.
list.
So Jan, what email was it that you sent the change in the dates and everything? I'm just wanting to
That
find it.
little page,
they're trying to tell us something.
I was gonna say, trying to
in,
think.
in everything that I sent yesterday,
Yeah? Yep,
it,
yep.
it looks like this. It's the 2024, there was two of them, there was John's quick
Right,
list, that came in number 2, and I
Right.
sent mine in number 1. And it's the
Okay.
2024-2025 CPC funding requests.
Oh, okay, I see, all
It's
right.
just a one-sheeter.
Okay, different, okay. Oh, these, I see,
John's list is cute and succinct.
okay,
Mine is just a little bigger print and,
okay, I
You got a
see,
giggle out of him for that one.
okay,
it is, it's, you know, but I can't read it without glasses.
Okay.
I can't
got
use
it.
Okay. Anything from any other member of the board? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
To adjourn.
So
All in
second,
favor?
second, aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate your time.